Alright guys, welcome back. GM Light here. Today we're going to be talking about the 1980s Boogeyman series. And I'll tell you, with this Boogeyman series, I'm just so tired of it. It's such a slog to get through. I just can't wait to get to Insidious, start talking about, watching, and reviewing movies that I'm excited to talk about, movies I actually like. And with this 80s one, it's just fucking puzzling because these movies don't really make any sense. So just kind of as a basis, we have this original. It's about when a girl witnesses her mother's boyfriend's murder through the reflection of a mirror. Then 20 years later, the mirror is shattered, freeing his evil spirit, which seeks revenge for his death. So right as you could tell, this really isn't a Boogeyman adaptation of any kind, isn't based off the folklore. It's kind of just one of those Boogeyman in name only movies, like a placeholder name for it. Takes a lot of cues from the 78 Halloween movie. Probably just heard Boogeyman in that movie and thought, oh, that would be a good title. So they lazily slap it on just to give it a title. It's just a weird evil spirit movie that doesn't make sense, is incomprehensible, isn't good, hard to watch. It's like an hour 20 and it feels like 2 hours 20. It's just so poorly done. Takes itself way too seriously. I'll get into my criticisms of the movie, but first, just to get through more of the actual series history itself. So then second, we got Boogeyman 2, which the confusing thing about it, I got this DVD collection with Boogeyman 1, 2, 3 from the 2000 series, and then The Boogeyman and Return of the Boogeyman, which I assumed Return of the Boogeyman was Boogeyman 2, but no, it's apparently Boogeyman 3, and there's a random Boogeyman 2 that kind of exists a little bit. I don't know, I hunted around for it. It just looks kind of hard to find, but it's got that Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 syndrome going on where it just spends the whole movie recapping the first better movie, even though the movie isn't good, so it really isn't better. And then it just has tiny little fill-ins with the gaps of a story for a sequel. The difference is I really like Silent Night, Deadly Night 1, so at least when I'm watching 2, I'm entertained by the stuff from the first one, which is good, and then the new footage from the second movie so bad that it's entertaining. So at the end of the day, I'm not unhappy. With this, both 2 and 3 are recaps of the first movie that are bad, stupid, bland, boring. 2 has some plot, follows Lacey coming back, traveling to Los Angeles to consult a film producer about making a feature film based on the supernatural events she experienced revolving around a malevolent spirit trapped in a mirror. She unwittingly brings a broken piece of glass from the mirror with her, resulting in dire consequences. Apparently that's just barely any of the plot, and the rest is just a recap of the first movie. Then there's Return of the Boogeyman, which I guess is Boogeyman 3. The DVD could have made that more clear. The film revolves around a young woman named Annie who has horrible nightmares every time she goes to sleep. She soon realized that her nightmares are prophetic dreams of the oncoming slaughter of the Boogeyman. She and her friends then set off to stop him. Pretty much the reputation of, especially these sequels, avoid them at all costs. They're terrible. Don't watch them. Nonetheless, they're a waste of time, but that's besides the point. In my opinion, I think the first movie itself is a waste of time. I was hoping to at least get some fun 80s cheese with this first Boogeyman movie, but couldn't even get that. The movie's so dour, it takes itself so seriously, but it's so goofy. Sometimes that could be funny. Sometimes when something's unintentionally funny, it could work. Doesn't with this. Just kind of boring, comes out of nowhere, and it's weird. It just totally flops whenever it's trying to deliver any kind of plot misdirection or anything like that. There's something in it that comes off a lot the same way that the candy bar scene in Friday the 13th Part 5 comes off. Just absolutely ridiculous. It's also, too, it has that thing that I don't really enjoy where there's no real mysticism or mythology to the Boogeyman itself. This is just an angry ghost, and then they just made it the title The Boogeyman because that's an easy title. I don't know. And like I mentioned before, they have these unhinged scenes that play up the instability of characters. It just comes off goofy, like something you can't take seriously, and not even in a fun way because it's just so poorly shot and acted. You have a really insufferable husband character, doesn't believe anything she says, which I understand that some of this stuff's hard to believe, but there's just a cruelty to him that just doesn't make sense. I just think that most people would show their spouse a little bit more empathy than he does. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. I'd hope not. The kills aren't convincing. They're shot spotty. And with the kill scenes, since the Boogeyman's powers are so vague, you really can't understand the limitations of what he can and can't do. I think that's a huge problem with the internal logic and consistency of the movie. It makes it hard for there to be any suspense when you really aren't sure what the Boogeyman can and can't do in this situation. And then I just get detached because I don't feel like I really have a stake in the movie at that point. Some of the weirdly bright and lively aesthetic of the movie also just doesn't gel at all with the tone and what it's going for. It's pretty much the complete antithesis of what the movie's trying to convey, which is just a sense of dread, but it flops. It fails on all fronts on that. Sometimes a movie that is a little bit older, when it's bad, sometimes it can make it worse that it's just poorly made, and this is just one of those movies. It's very hard to watch. It's hard to get into. It's not like the dialogue or any of the characters really act like anyone that would be relatable or someone I know. So I kind of have to just keep it at arm's length. It's not well done enough for me to enjoy it. And especially with the way these characters act, it's fucking frustrating. I genuinely think one of the worst tropes, and it makes sense in a lot of plots. It is helpful when you have a main character and they're not being believed. It's extremely frustrating because you just want them to believe him, or at least give him some kind of credence, or at least hear him out. The husband has none of it. He doesn't show a shade of empathy towards his wife, and it's just totally ridiculous. Overall, I'd just say avoid this series. I'm just so happy that I'm through with this. I'm tired of Boogeyman movies. They're fucking awful. I'm gonna wait until I see this new one because apparently it's mediocre. I guess I'll just wait. And just a quick plug, my buddy Shade's Hideout just came out with a new book, KATA the Self-Tortured. It's available on Amazon. You could purchase it easily. It's a great story, great art. I think that there's a lot that will resonate with many people about this book. It's got kind of a manga-based feel with the art style, and I'm sure a lot of you would enjoy it. I'll put a link for it in the description below. Definitely check it out. Back to Boogeyman. That piece of shit can go to hell. I will never watch it again. I will never touch any of the sequels. I will never remotely look at it. I don't really need to watch the sequels because they just recap the first movie anyway. But until next time, I hope I'm talking about a better horror movie. I'm GM Light. Have a good one.